Welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining the OSU Leadership Center for this portion of our complimentary webinar series that we're offering during this pandemic. We will be recording this session in order to share widely on our YouTube channel, and we will be sending you a link via email later today. Scott Scheer has willingly offered to share his expertise today on the topic managing time during COVID-19. Emma Newell is our session moderator. And so as you have questions, if you add them to the chat box, Emma will be asking them on your behalf at the end of the session. So everybody welcome Scott to our webinar.
Thanks, Beth and Emma, for helping out today. Beth Flynn and Emma Newell. Hopefully you can hear me okay. As we're going along, if you have any questions or if there's any technology issues, just use the chat box. I know Emma and Beth are both monitoring that. So do please feel free to use the chat box as we go along. Thanks for taking the time today. We're going to be talking about time, managing time, and really appreciate that you're giving 30 minutes of your time today to be with us. And I am thankful that I can share with you about managing time, especially during our pandemic that's going on right now with COVID-19. Just a little bit about myself. I am currently the interim chair and professor in the Department of Agricultural Communication, Education, and Leadership. You can see my background. Right now, for those that are with OSU, you know that we cannot go into work, and so we're sheltering in place. This is the front room to our house. You may see some things going on behind me. Just ignore that. Hopefully it's not too interesting. And just again, want to thank you for being with us today in the Leadership Center. Just a little bit more about myself. I know, having worked from my dining room office table, which I can sort of flash down a little bit. I've been sitting here, I guess, for a number of weeks now, and it's working, but it does have its challenges. And I know for many of you, you're probably working at home. Some of you might be essential workers and you're taking a break and you're in your office. I know there's been a lot of furloughs, and so maybe you're at home because of that. And so this is a unique time. And all of us are at different places, but during this 30 minutes, I hope that you do take away from it some ideas about how we can best effectively manage our time. Just some of the challenges that I have going on here is, it's not just me in this house. A couple kids, one is back from a study abroad in Australia that had to come home. Another is my daughter, who is busy finishing up online. They both are with school. My wife too, she is in and out with her job to some extent, but we all have things going on here which can make it challenging. And we do have a new puppy. His name is Timmy Kibble, and he is all puffy. So I'm going to talk about time busters, and he certainly can be a distraction at times. But again, he's also a good mood booster. And I guess that can be a time booster too. But anyway, again, thanks so much for being with us today. Just a shout out to nurses. Today is National Nurses Day, and just thankful for all they're doing with being on the front lines and taking care of everyone. So thank you to all of our nurses that are working and doing so much today. All right, so our topic is about managing time during COVID-19. And let's just sort of dive into things and look at some of the basics around time management. These are some of the sort of bullet points that I've compiled looking at the literature around this. And one of the things that I know I sometimes say, I'm just so busy. And so when I think about that, it's not just about being busy, but being busy is not equal to being productive. And so that can actually be a time buster, because we can be busy at a lot of stuff, whether that is scrolling through FaceTime, seeing some dust over here or there, and you start dusting. And so it's easy to be busy, but are you really accomplishing what you want to accomplish? Keep that in mind. Another piece, a basic, is the ability to say no is important. In that even though, again, you might be sheltering in place, working at home, there are times when you're asked to do this or you're asked to do that, and you can't do it all. So keep that in mind, that you can't do it all. And sometimes one just has to communicate that I'm not able to do that with my current commitments. It's okay to say that. Another piece right now that's really important is that it's okay to not be okay. And that I know my feelings at times can be anxious, can be down and sad, and all over the place because of what's going on, especially if you turn on the news. And so be aware of that. And if sometimes it gets to a place where it's really affecting how you sleep, your day, it's okay to seek help. That's important to do. So keep that in mind, especially right now. There's a lot going on. Another basic time management basic is to think about managing your energy rather than just time alone. When we all have 24 hours in a day, and you know, okay, I really need to get this done today, think about where you're at in that day and the energy that you might have. I know for me, it's often in the AM that I'm able to get things done. Sometimes for others, it could be later in the day, but don't just think about time itself, but about how to manage your energy. It's a way to refocus, reframe. So keep that in mind. All right, we're doing good, I think, on time. I've grouped things really in two categories: time boosters and time busters. I see a couple people have raised their hands. If you have any comments, just go ahead and put those into the box. And I know that Beth and Emma will be monitoring that. Can everybody still hear me okay? All right. So time boosters is really a way to enhance your time effectiveness. Time busters is where things are taken away from how you can manage your time. And so I put these into two categories, and we're going to start with time boosters. These are various areas that are important to help us through our day as we want to manage time effectively. The first one is sleep. You might be thinking, sleep? Hey, when I'm sleeping, I'm not being productive. I'm not working. But if we don't have our sleep, then the next day, there's no way we can be productive. There's no way we can be effective. It varies from person to person how much sleep you might need. I know for me, it's about 7 hours a day, and that's to be recharged and refreshed. And that can be hard right now because there's again so much going on, and there's different aids to help us sleep. There's different podcasts. There's one that I like to actually use, which is called Get Sleepy, and it's a podcast where somebody is reading to you in a very soft, soothing voice. And I know, like today, for example, this morning I woke up at 1 a.m., had to go to the bathroom, and couldn't go back to bed right away, thinking about today and just other things that I needed to do. And so put on Get Sleepy. And what it does is it puts your mind into the present. It's sort of like meditation. I do try to meditate when I can. I don't regularly. I used to at one time. I need to get back to that. But Get Sleepy is just one. It's a podcast. There's other tools you can use helping you go to sleep. Sometimes it's a matter of getting up and then going back to bed. But keep that on your radar. You got to get sleep to help you with your time the next day. Keep a regular schedule. You may know this already. I think I've seen it, different tips that you might see on some of the news channels and stuff. For me, that's been helpful. I am an early riser, about 5 a.m. I do that when I'm going in the office. I pretty much do it today on a regular basis, and that has helped me even working from home. And so try to keep a regular schedule. I think that's more important now than ever. Another technique, I don't use it as much, but I know other people do, Pomodoro technique. This is where you work in chunks of time. A common one is where you do like 25 minutes of focused work. You use like a timer, This is an app called Focus Keeper. It's a free app that you can get from your app store. And this is where you work with a timer in 25-minute chunks. You take a 5-minute break, another 25-minute chunk. And on this particular schedule, a Focus Keeper, after 4 chunks, you take a longer break. That's really nice to where you're making yourself stay focused on whatever task is at hand. And then when you have those breaks, whether it's bathroom, get a snack, that can be a way also just to sort of reward yourself. I don't use it a whole lot. I do know other people who do, and they just love it. This one is called Focus Keeper. There's probably others too, and this is sort of what it looks like. You can see the timer's going right now. Yep. All right, let's look at some of our other bullet points. Make time for what is important. And so that's where you need to look at what you think is most important to accomplish, not just in the immediate time frame that you're in, but both medium and long-term goals too. It's often recommended that you put your most important task in the AM. Usually we have the most energy, and it's a way to get those things completed, and we also feel good about that. So make time for what is important. Maintain physical activity. Yeah, that takes time, but that's really about, it's about being healthy, and it's about that mind and body connection. I know for me, when things were normal, I did my $10 a month fitness membership at Planet Fitness, and that was great, 30 minutes. We have a thing here called System of Strength that I would use. And one thing is called Ebb and Flow, which is some yoga. And that was very helpful. I don't have those things now. So what I do is take a walk, maybe go for a short jog. But whatever that might be, maybe it's streaming some of these free fitness sessions that you can do, whether it's through YouTube, whether it's, there's all kinds of, Netflix I think even has some, there's a lot of free streaming physical activity apps and activities that you can do. All right, lastly here with time boosters is to be kind to yourself. Right now, it's not what we normally are going through. And so if you have a day that's not that productive, don't get down about that. We're gonna sleep, we're gonna have a new day. So be kind to yourself. It's not what we normally do right now with everything that's happening really throughout the US and the world. And so be careful not to be too hard on yourself, but be kind to yourself. Don't beat yourself up, okay? So all of these can be time boosters because it's sort of the big picture about how to be effective throughout the day, okay? So keep these in mind as a way to manage your time more effectively through the day, okay? All right, let's continue here. Here's a quote from Mozart, which I think is nice. And that is, the shorter way to do many things is to only do one thing at a time. And this really hints at this next bullet point under time busters, and that is multitasking. I know my son, for example, he likes to multitask where he might be working on some school activities and maybe there's some gaming going on the other screen. Or maybe for myself, I might be trying to do emails and work on a presentation. What we know is even though we might be thinking we're saving time, we're doing 2 things at once, because we're not focused on one thing at a time, in the long run, we're not as productive. And so you might be saying, Scott, no, I disagree. A lot of the research shows it's better to focus on one thing. So be careful with your multitasking. Hey, if you want to have the radio on or something or whatever, I mean, that's good. That's not multitasking. It's something in the background. But be careful that you might have too much going on at one time. All right, here's a time buster, distractions. Email. I have to turn off my notifications because I love to be on top of my email. if I get a notification that I have a new email, I'm like, oh, goody, and it's usually more work, but I still am anxious to look at it. That's not helpful. So I turn off my notifications on email. Ideally, think about 2-3 times a day to get to that. And so be careful with email. Pets and family, they're very important, but we can spend a lot of time all day just doing that too. Social media. Truth be known, I am not on Facebook. My spouse is. A lot of my friends are, and I know a lot of people just, that's a way to be distracted and to be busy, just sort of scrolling through the news, right? And before you know it, 10 minutes have passed, 20 minutes have passed. What about house cleaning? Does anybody have a really clean house right now? Beth is shaking her head. For some folks, I see Maria raised her hand. Yes, Maria Louise. And that's because, you're sitting there and you're like, whoa, a lot of people are raising their hands. Yeah, because you know what? I can get back to my work in just a minute because I want to go scrub the kitchen sink. Now, I know that sounds crazy. Mindy raised her hand, but house cleaning can be a distraction. For me, that's not too much of a distraction, as you may have noticed, especially if you saw my dining room table right now. So be careful with these things. What I'd like to do now, we're just going to take a quick pause. Nope, haha, I see Nikki there's chiming in. Why don't we just go ahead and through the chat box, put in 1 or 2 distractions that can take away from your time, from your work, okay? And then Emma's going to read some of these out at random, all right? So if you don't mind, just start typing in the chat box, distractions that you deal with. And then Emma, please chime in as you see some of these.
Yeah, we have a lot of them. We have kids, work, emails, phones, spouse, dogs, family, TV, social media, puzzles, parents, text messages, school, helping with homework, daydreaming, looking out the window at traffic, housework.
Or your neighbor, right, Beth?
Wine with DeWine. Let's see.
The golfers.
The golfers, yeah. Quite a few distractions.
Yeah, thanks, Emma. It varies, right? You can just see them coming in, snack attacks. There you go. Carlos, that's one of mine. That's why it's on there. So there's so many distractions. Jennifer, people walking their dogs. Hey, you want to look at the dogs, right? They're cute. And so we have to be careful with that. How we manage that varies. And so that's where, again, are you going to use the Pomodoro technique where you work in chunks of time, where you stay focused? Do you need to move from where you're currently sitting? Do you need to just literally leave the house if you're working at home and go to your front porch if the dog's getting wild, or your partner or spouse is doing Zumba? That happens just a few feet away from where I'm sitting right now, and it can be a distraction. So beware of distractions, okay? Lack of boundaries, that's tied to this, right? I mean, right now, we just have very few boundaries. My kitchen is a few feet away. That can be a distraction. Our main family room is a few feet away, and that certainly can be a distraction with the TV going, with the news or whatever. And the front door is right there. So if anything's happening, to look out the window, that's right there. So watch your boundaries. Working at home guilt. I know for me, I'm typically an office person. I really enjoy being at the office and whatnot. But when I would come home, that's when I'm like, okay, I'm at home. I'm away from the office. It is my time with my family, my pets. And now that I'm required to work from home, it's sort of like, okay, this is nice, but I'm also working. And before you know it, you're working all the time and you're not stopping your regular work, which then can take away from your productivity because you're getting tired. You're getting stretched too thin. and you feel like, well, if I'm at home, I'm saving time, so let me work even more. Again, watch your boundaries. Don't have that working at home guilt. It's easy to be busier working at home than actually in the office. And so whatever that time frame might be for you during the day to be focused, to be productive, do that, but then close that laptop, shut her down. I really try to do that. Sometimes it's hard, but you have to do that. Snack attacks. Carlos, I saw some others put that out there. My kitchen is just a few feet away. And so I could do Cheez-Its and crackers and chips. I like to say veggies all day, but it's really the other stuff. And so I have to be careful. And I haven't got on the scale lately with the snack attacks, and it's sort of mindless eating. And for you, it might not be a big deal. For me, I got to be careful with my snack attacks. So these are all time busters. There's more, especially distractions. A lot of good ones we're coming into. So thanks for doing that. Let's continue. This is, I think, a helpful quote from Henry David Thoreau. It is not enough to be busy. The question is, what are we busy about? And so, again, we can be busy at FaceTime. We can just be busy being busy, right? I got this, I got that. And I was busy. I worked, 18 hours today. And then you ask yourself, what did I do today? What are the main things that I got accomplished? And before you know it, it may not be stuff that really was on your main to-do list or your priority list to get done. And that leads nicely, I think, into this time management matrix. This was developed way back by Eisenhower, really made popular by Covey. And you can see that there's really on this 2x2 matrix, there's urgent in the top row, and then on the side column, it's really important. And quadrant 1 is where we're mostly being reactive. And the main point behind this time matrix is that we should be more proactive. And that really gets at quadrant 2, which is connected to more medium and long-term goals. Quadrant 1 is a way to be busy all day, but you're not getting at those things that are important that might be on your medium and long-term goal list, okay? And so quadrant 1 are when those things come in that you have to get to right away. Maybe there's something that's going on with a colleague that you need to help out with. Maybe there's an email that you need to get to. It's important and it's urgent, but you're busy being busy, and it's hard. You're being more reactive rather than proactive. Quadrant 3 and 4, again, can be sort of time busters. Quadrant 3 is where it could be urgent in the sense of interruptions. I sort of at times like interruptions when I'm in my office. Oh, somebody stops by and, oh, good, I'm going to stop my work right now and we can chat. But before I know it, if I do too much of that throughout the day, then my day is gone. And so it's urgent because it's happening right then and now, but it really may not be that important. Quadrant 4, is where we're just, gosh, I just love that cat video. And wow, you need to look at this cat video. And before you know it, you've been talking about that cat video for quite a while. And so quadrant 2 is sort of that sweet spot. And it's not just about work. It can be about recreation. It can be about family and friend time, but it's where it's intentional. And so think about quadrant 2, where we can be proactive, and it's that sweet spot about thinking of where you want to focus your time overall and not just about being busy, which is really quadrant 1, okay? Here's a helpful quote for me. The bad news is time flies. The good news is you're the pilot. And so the whole point behind that is we can take charge, we can take control of our time. Don't let our day and just being busy take control of us. Sometimes you got to sit back, take a breath, and refocus and plan, okay, this is what I'm going to do next. That's going to be most effective use of my time. So The good news is you're the pilot of your day, of your time, and you might just have to say that to yourself, okay, when you feel like you're being stretched at all ends. I don't have little ones at home right now. I know for a lot of families that's really hard. And so one might need help for that, or just set aside time. Okay, this time of the day, I know I'm not going to get anything done, and I'm going to try to do better during this next block of time. But sometimes it's just, we don't have that control either because of the unique time that we're in. Okay. All right. We are going to stay on time. We're almost at 30 minutes. Just want to do a quick chat box where I know you all have some of your time management tips. And so let's just take about a minute here. Eating toddler food. Yes, I like that, Sarah. Very good. Can you just use we're going to do a little click chat. If you could just put into the chat box some of your time management tips. We won't have much time to do this, and then Emma, could you share some of these at random?
Absolutely. So taking physical activity breaks and putting them on the schedule, keeping a list and marking things off as they complete them, having a strict calendar, planning time for breaks, leaving the cell phone in another room, get work done before everyone else wakes up. Let's see.
These are good. These are
Feeding
good.
the dog in the morning. I've seen that a couple times.
Or, yeah, blocking time.
Let's see. Lots of lists. Changing location where they work to keep their mind busy.
These are good.
Mhm. Planning each day with a theme.
Things. Yeah, I saw some of Covey's stuff. Good. Wonderful, wonderful suggestions. Yeah, take breaks to walk around. I'm on a dining room chair, and so yeah, you got to get up and walk around. That's important. Excellent. Keep them coming. We're going to continue as we're getting close to our time limit. Let's just take a couple questions, and you can see in the picture here, that's our dog, Timmy Kibble. Kibble as in Kibble and Bits, but sort of a play on Jimmy Kimmel, our daughter named Timmy. He's a mess, but we love him. So let's do a couple questions. I know we don't have much time, and Emma, if you have any questions, just put those in the chat box. And
So one of the questions. Oh, sorry.
yeah, go. Mm-hmm.
Okay. One of the questions that we had is, how do we help our workplace and culture to accept the philosophy of turning off email notifications and working on it only 3 times a day or so?
Yeah, and again, that can depend where you work. Hopefully that's something that one can have a discussion with in regards to one supervisor, but putting it in the context of that it's a way to be more productive. I guess some office settings may not allow that, but if you put it in the context of I'm able to be more productive if I do emails 3 times a day than to be interrupted throughout the day, then this will work better for me. And so that's one thing maybe to try in talking with one supervisor about. Good question.
Another question that we have is asking for suggestions on managing time when there are shifting priorities.
Yeah, and so when the priorities are changing, that's just where communication is so important when it comes to the team that you might be working with, to one supervisor, and then hopefully that can be divided up in a way to where you're still able to be productive.
Another question that we have is suggestions for maintaining focus with pending potential pay cuts, furloughs, layoffs, etc.
Yeah, good question. And that's where I know for me, just with being maybe anxious at times, and that's where I have to sort of disconnect from the news, and again, from looking at emails, and just taking one day at a time. but also in being thankful for having a shelter, having food. And that's a hard one though, because it's easy for the mind to wander thinking about the next day, will I have my job and that kind of thing. And so just trying to be in the moment and the present as best as you can, but it's not easy to do. Yeah. I think time-wise, we're gonna probably go ahead and stop there. You can certainly send me questions through email. I am Scheer.9, SCHEER.9 at OSU.edu, and feel free to do that. Thanks so much for participating today and taking 30 minutes out of your day. I hope there's a few things that you can take with you. Appreciate it, and have a good rest of the day. I'm going to turn things over to Beth. And Emma, thank you.
Well, this concludes our session for today. This presentation will be made available on our YouTube channel, and I will be sending that out to you later today. And we hope to see you at future webinars and encourage you to register for other sessions in the series. We're continually adding to these. We have things scheduled through June 10th now. And so please follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn for other current updates. Thank you for your time and attention today. Stay safe and well, everybody.
Take care.